Yeah, we'll probably work on it this winter. We want to have one out by next summer. I mean, we've released three original songs over the last couple of years, like as singles. And then we did a full length Christmas album last year, and then we put out a handful of covers. We did "Never Gonna Give You Up." We did the Beatles song. We did the Brady Bunch cover a couple months ago, which was the Sunshine Day with we had Greg Brady on there, Barry Williams. That's kind of just like a fun thing to do. That came out. So we've put out like 7 or 8 songs with me on vocals plus an entire Christmas album. So it's been like 20 songs, but we haven't actually done like a quote unquote, full length album. Just because the paradigm of the record industry is so different than it used to be. It's a single driven business and world now. So we just kind of want to keep the momentum going and put out a single every few months. And
Listen to the vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Vibes. I'd love to welcome here the one and only Zach Goode from the band Smash Mouth. And we're going to get to know him and talk a little bit about a single that they're putting out called Love Me Do. So let's
love me
start
do.
us off right. Zach, tell us a little bit more about you.
Well, my name is Zach. I am the singer for Smash Mouth for the last 3 years, I believe, since 2021. And I come from a long background of musical stuff. I was born in New York City. Grew up mostly in Provincetown, Massachusetts, which is like a little hippie bohemian town in Cape Cod. Um, I kind of grew up doing a lot of like Broadway and theater stuff. I was in tons of plays and musicals. I was like a theater kid, and then I got super into the Beatles, and then like punk rock and hip hop and alternative rock and classic rock. When I was in high school, I was in bands. I left home when I was 16, moved to Hawaii, joined a band that moved to Seattle, and then moved to San Diego in the 90s. Kind of like landed up in the middle of the 90s like alternative music sort of explosion in San Diego, which was like a really cool music scene. We were, playing with all these bands that ended up becoming these, Blink and Incubus and Korn and Deftones and Sublime and Sugar Ray and No Doubt and Green Day. And, all these bands were our friends. And, we used to open for them. They used to open for us. And that band was called Ghoul Spoon. And it was sort of like a metal rap reggae, like, Bad Brains meets Public Enemy kind of band. And we were popular, put out a bunch of albums, did it for about 10 years, but never kind of got over the hump. Saw all of our friends become successful and never quite could get to that next level. Got a management deal around the 2000s, changed our name to Divided by Zero. Did another album and a tour back then. So the whole thing lasted about 15 years. I was kind of doing that for the entire 90s and 2000s, just plugging away. And then I put out a couple solo albums under the band name Secret Seven. And all these songs are out there, all the albums are out there on streaming now. But then I moved to LA about 10 years ago. Started doing a bunch of tribute stuff because getting original music going in LA is harder than I thought it would be. So I was doing a Beatles tribute, I was doing a Beastie Boys tribute, yacht rock thing, an 80s thing. I had like 5 different things going on for money gigs. Then I started doing voiceover work. I got approached to do a bunch of commercials. I was doing, I did like this big national Taco Bell commercial, which was cool. They got picked up. And then, COVID happened and I was doing just YouTube things and acoustic stuff and just plugging away really for, 30 years. And then I just, saw the ad somewhere for Smash Mouth, looking for a new lead singer. And I just sent him an email. I was like, hey, here's my YouTube page. I'm pretty versatile. I could do this, this, and this. And, if you're looking for a guy with, a bunch of 90s tattoos and a dad bod, I could probably fill the spot. And yeah, kind of, I didn't even think they would respond, and they got back to me pretty quickly and they were like, hey, we like your stuff, send an audition. So I taped an audition, sent it in, they liked that. And then did another one and they liked that. And then we kind of started talking and ended up going to San Jose to meet Paul and the rest of the guys in the band. And that went well and we clicked and we played some songs. And then kind of one thing led to another and they narrowed it down to like the final 4 people, I guess. And, I went up there and auditioned to do like 6 songs, whatever it was. And, the chemistry just felt really good. And then they just called me on Christmas of 2021, I think it was. So yeah, almost exactly, what's that, 3 years ago. And they offered me the gig and I was like, all right, here we go. So we practiced a couple times, over a course of a few months and did press and pictures and stuff and recorded that Never Gonna Give You Up cover, which was the first song we put out. And then, yeah, my first show was Memorial Day weekend of 2022. in Guadalajara at this huge festival, and like 50,000 people with like the Strokes and Kings of Leon and Blondie and Death Cab, and we just went out there, and there was tens of thousands of people and had a great set. It was just it all clicked, and it was like we were off and running from there. We did all summer, then we did last summer, then this. So I've just finished 3 summers of touring with these guys. And it's been really incredible. It's just the amount of love this band still gets all over the world. We just did Malaysia. I mean, the last 3 weekends, because all these shows are kind of most of them are flyaways. You fly somewhere, you play, you fly back. So it's like a 3-day travel. You're not in a bus. You're home during the week. You fly out, you come back. So the last 3 weekends we've done Malaysia, Disney World, and halftime at the Rams game in LA. So
Wow.
that's the diversity of like the audiences we play for. And every time it's like 50,000 people at a festival. Obviously Disney World, we do 6 shows, so it's like they thousands of people come in and out. So over the course of 2 days, it's like I don't know, many people. And then the Rams game was 70,000. But then an average show could be 10,000, 5,000. A state fair, a casino, a neighborhood concert. It's very different. So we do this every weekend pretty much for like 8 months a year, and the people still come out and love the songs. I mean, there's like 7 or 8 or 9 songs that everybody knows, and it's sort of magical how much people still love this band after 30 years. So I'm just thankful that I'm a little tiny part of it now.
So even the hardcore fans, they accepted you right off the bat?
Say again, sorry.
I said even the hardcore fans, they accepted you right off the bat?
I would say I mean, live, definitely 100%. Like we've played in almost 100 shows, and I have not, I haven't gotten any shade from people. People hold up signs once in a while, like, we love Steve, or like, when he died, like a tribute type of thing. But no one ever, gives me the people love it live. Like we've had great audiences, great fans. The comments on the internet once in a while, you'll post something and people are like, not the same without Steve, or not, it's a cover band or so. I get it. Like I'm the same way, Van Halen, Journey, Black Flag, like, Faith No More, whatever. A million bands have done it. I mean, it's happening right now again with Linkin Park, it's like, and meanwhile they're playing stadiums. So
Yeah.
there's always going to be haters. It's fine. I get it. People don't like change. People loved his voice and what he added. I get it. It's iconic, but he's not around anymore. And the band has these songs that people want to hear. And I don't think it's fair to be like, oh, you guys should just retire. It's like, should Iron Maiden never, should AC/DC never have made Back in Black because Bon Scott died?
Right.
So things change. I get it. It's hard for some people, but anyone that comes to see us live, it's a super fun, high energy show. It's very sort of I don't want to say on brand, but it's like we pay homage, and we honor the legacy of the band with the songs and the vibe. So it's just a great time. And yeah, people for the most part have accepted me. I don't get any hate from people live, thank goodness. But I'm not gonna lie, occasionally there's I try not to read the comments, but once in a while you get you get a little something in the comments. So what are you gonna do? You can't please everybody.
Well, and you're not trying to copy the original singer. You're your
No,
own
you
person.
have to sort of, like I said, honor the legacy, and you want to sound in the ballpark as much like him as you can, because people want to hear those songs the way they want to do it. But I have my own voice. I have my own, banter and attitude and vibe. So it's like I do bring my own personality to the gig, but at the same time, I do want to like not just be totally Zach. I do have to kind of honor, the original intent and voicing of the song. So I try to do that as much as possible while still trying to be myself.
Well, y'all decided to do a cover of Love Me Do. Was this influenced by you, or was this like a band decision?
I believe this was a band decision, but it was sort of basically management said, "Hey, Cleopatra's doing a punk rock Beatles tribute," and I'm like the biggest Beatles fan in the world, So I mean, I have John Lennon's autograph from when I was a kid that I got. I said I wrote him a
Wow.
fan letter. I wrote him a fan letter because my dad was an autograph dealer actually in New York in the 70s and 80s, and I was living there as a little kid. I asked him, "Hey, how do I get John Lennon's autograph?" Because he was like my favorite Beatle, and so he said, "What you do is you take the 8x10 from the White Album and you put it in a self-addressed stamped envelope. Here's the address of the Dakota where he lives," because it was pretty public knowledge. And so I wrote him a letter. I don't remember what the letter said. I was like 10 years old, and sent it to him. And kids these days that are watching probably don't know what a self-addressed stamped envelope is, but it's like when you write your return address on like a manila envelope, you fold it up, you put it in there. That way the person you're writing to can just mail it back to you. It already has a stamp on it. It makes it easier. So I did that. kind of forgot about it. And then I was like laying in bed one night, and then I on the radio it was like John Lennon's been killed, and I was like crying. And then a couple days later, the mail came,
Oh wow.
and I go, it says to Zach, John Lennon, 1980, and then he autographed the back, John Lennon, 1980, and I still have it to this day. So it's like it must have been one of the last autographs he ever signed. Crazy. So I've always had this kind of cosmic Beatles connection my whole life. Um, and so when they said, do you guys want to do a punk rock Beatles cover? I was like, yeah. So I'm like, we're all have this whole text chain. Like, they give us a list of all these songs, like options. And we're like, I'm like, we should do Eleanor Rigby because it's like, it's only two chords, but it's like really we could do psychedelic and like, but we're like, going back and forth. And like, the manager Robert's like, you guys better hurry up and choose because other bands are on this. Like the list is dwindling quickly. And it's like, we couldn't agree that night. And the next morning he was like, well, they're all taken except for Love Me Do. So you guys get Love Me Do. And we're like, what? It's like the most simple song, it's like of all the Beatles songs, like the most straightforward. It's like ABC, ABC, ABC over. There's like nothing else to it. So we just embraced it. And Paul was like, this is great. It's like total punk rock. Let's just do it like, punk, ska, reggae, make it that vibe. And so we just, it is a straightforward song, but it has three distinct parts. And we just kind of like smashed mouthed it up. We kind of took out the harmonica and added like the Farfisa sort of like smash mouth organ sound to it. So it's cool. It's simple. It's fast. It's short. It's punk. It's ska. It's reggae. And it's, I think it came out good. We didn't overthink it too much.
Well, I don't want to dwindle on this too long, but when you got that envelope back and found John Lennon's autograph, was that very emotional for you?
Yeah, I mean, I get 40 years later, I get emotional telling the story. I get like goosebumps when I think about it because it's like so crazy. He meant so much to me as a kid, and yeah, I mean, I have it framed in my bedroom, just right over there, right now. Still, what is it, 44? Actually, next week is the anniversary of his death, December 8th, right? So, yeah, it's very emotional, and I've seen Paul live, I've seen Ringo live. Had never saw George, unfortunately, but yeah, I'll still go see the Beatles in any configuration, until they're not around anymore. Because one day we're gonna be like we walk the earth the same time as these people. It's crazy.
That it
These people,
is.
these guys are not going to be around anymore in the next 10 years. I feel bad for the T-shirt that says like I may be old, but I saw all the good bands. That's pretty much like I came up in that magical time of the 80s and 90s where I've seen not every. I mean, I missed a couple. I never saw Bowie. And I never saw Prince, even though I had multiple opportunities. I just didn't go. But besides, I haven't seen AC/DC. I skipped AC/DC for some reason. But besides that, I mean, the Beatles and Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and all the configurations of all those classic rock bands. There's Paul Simon and Garfunkel and the Eagles and whoever that are still around. Go see them now while you can, because in 10 years they're not going to be around anymore, and you're going to be left with Smash Mouth as your classic rock. We're going to be the ones playing. We're going to be the ones playing the Hollywood Bowl. So we're going to be the new classic rock, and that's what you got, man. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame bound. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's how I feel. That's one of the reasons why I do what I do. I want to try to keep some of this music alive.
Yeah,
We went and saw Alice Cooper not too long ago,
yeah. I saw
and
him. I saw him last time at the Greek Theater, and his guitar player Nita Strauss, the blonde woman that
yes,
shreds. We played the Rams game yesterday, and she's the guitar player for the Rams. So we hung out with her, and I was like, I saw you with
oh
Alice
wow,
Cooper. Got a picture with her and stuff. Yeah, Alice was great, man. And what's his name? Ace Frehley opened too, so that was cool.
see, I got to go see Ace too. He's my favorite.
I just saw Kiss's last show at the Hollywood Bowl, and then I saw the Grateful Dead's last show in San Francisco. Well, it's supposed to be their last show, and then they played Vegas. So yeah, all those bands. I mean, plus the '90s. I mean, we're old enough where I used to play with these guys. Nirvana and Sublime and all these bands that are now the new classic rock. They were our buddies, and our contemporaries. So and these guys are Linkin Park and Soundgarden and Alice in Chains. These guys are not. Some of the guys are not alive anymore. So that now has been 30 years, and more time has passed between when we were doing those shows and now than passed between like Woodstock and high school, when we used to look back on classic rock like Jimi Hendrix. That was only like 20 years before. Now Nirvana is 30 years ago. So it's it's really strange to get older and be in this music scene, and see it come full circle.
I always said, you're getting old when you walk through the grocery store and you hear the music you listened to in high school.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. When the Clash is on like classic rock, and you're like, wait, what's going on here? And then once in
So
a while, my kids will like it, because they'll hear it on TikTok or something, or not they don't have TikTok, but they have Fortnite, which has TikTok songs, I guess. So they'll be, oh, this is so and so, and I'm like, yeah, this is whatever, Don Henley or whatever cheesy crap, and they'll love it. So it goes forward.
are you guys planning on putting out another album?
Yeah, we'll probably work on it this winter. We want to have one out by next summer. I mean, we've released 3 original songs over the last couple of years, like as singles. And then we did a full length Christmas album last year, and then we put out a handful of covers. We did "Never Gonna Give You Up." We did the Beatles song. We did the Brady Bunch cover a couple months ago, which was the Sunshine Day we had Greg Brady on there, Barry Williams. That's kind of just like a fun thing to do. That came out. So we've put out like 7 or 8 songs with me on vocals plus an entire Christmas album. So it's been like 20 songs, but we haven't actually done like a quote unquote full length album. Just because the paradigm of the record industry is so different than it used to be. It's a single driven business and world now. So we just kind of want to keep the momentum going and put out a single every few months. But now that we have a little downtime, and we'll be home for a few months, we'll probably start to put together an album for next summer.
Well, it's sad. It seems like radio is dying off and everything's streaming. So when bands that I really like come out with new music, unless I just happen to run across it, I don't know it's come out. And I think that's hurting bands.
Yeah, well, I mean, the only way to find out is just if you're on Spotify and you have the new releases, you have to pay attention to your new release, whatever release radar, which I do every week, and I click through it, and I'll be like, oh, so and so band has a new album, I'll give it a spin. But then what happens is you just forget it exists. Like I'll like listen to the new what did I listen to? I already forgot. Like bands came out, like there's a band I love called Dawes, Daws, Dawes. They put a new album out called Brothers. It's great. I listened to it like twice and just kind of forgot to re-listen to it. The new what class? Oh, the new Cure. I listened to it twice. It was awesome. I love the new Cure album. And 2 weeks go by, I'm like, oh, it's because it's in like the clouds. I don't even, it's not. I don't have it anymore. So that is frustrating. And also, with the algorithms the way they are, everyone's in their, kind of on their own vertical now. So it's like one person hears this, one person hears this. I'll put on Saturday Night Live, and it'll be like Sabrina Carpenter is the musical guest, and I'm like, I've never heard of this person in my life, and like, oh, she's the biggest star in the world. I'm like, never
Hmm.
heard of her, because I don't listen to terrestrial radio. Um, so and then like the other week, that guy McGee, that like guitar playing prodigy guy, played SNL, and I'm like, oh, I've heard of him because my friend from Berkeley knows him for. So like you come across music all these weird ways now. So it is, music is sort of a niche thing. It's not like hip hop culture is ubiquitous, country is ubiquitous, pop is, but rock and roll is, it's the new jazz. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is. So we're fortunate as Smash Mouth, or our generation, to be part of the last generation of bands that had mainstream hits that can still tour on those hits, and people will know it forever. I mean, All Star will never die, no matter what. It's just one of those songs. And so is I'm a Believer and Walking on the Sun. And so it's like, we're lucky, but I feel bad for newer bands. But I mean, if you go to, I live in LA, so you go to the Will Turn or you go to El Rey, these theaters, there's still these bands, these rock bands. I mean, I went and saw Rival Sons a couple weeks ago. They're awesome. They put on a great show. They're so good, and they're playing big theaters. They're playing tours. Bad Flower, like these newer bands, there are rock bands out there touring. They're just not on the cover of Rolling Stone anymore.
True. Well, let's keep the music going. Oh, and
Yeah.
one more thing. Do you guys, when you put out the new album, are you going to put it on vinyl?
I hope so. I'm a vinyl guy. I'm not in charge of that. The cost, I know it's very expensive, and there's only a couple plants in America that press the vinyl. I mean, Jack White's done a lot to help with that, but I mean, it's a huge waiting list. So I'm not management, I'm not the record label, so I don't know. If it was up to me, 100%. But the honest answer is I have no idea yet. I
It's
don't even know if we'll be on
sad.
CD.
It's sad. We're
Yeah,
paying 3 or 4 times what we used to pay for a record back in the day.
yeah, no, it's expensive, and I try to buy like whenever I go see a live band, I'll try to buy their vinyl because I have so many black T-shirts, and it's like, but if they have a record for $20, I'll buy it, just to support them and as a cool memory. So like I'll go see bands like Not a Surf, or like I said, Dawes or Ryan Adams, or whatever alternative type of Americana bands is sort of like what I usually go see live, or Lucas Nelson or people like that. And those type of that level of bands almost always has vinyl, so I'll always buy it to support them.
I know Smash Mouth has a website. Do you have a personal one?
Yeah, all my stuff is Zach Goode, ZachGoode, ZachGoode.com, where I have all my links. And I'm on social media as at divided by Zach, divided by ZACH. So you can find me on whatever Instagram or the usual places.
Well, I'm gonna put the links in the description to make it easier for folks to find it. But
Thank you, sir.
Zach, thank you so much, man. This has really been an honor having you on the show.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Anytime. And hopefully that album comes out and there's a lot of cool rock and Beatles songs, and it turns on another generation to the Beatles.
Well, I also want to thank all you folks out there. If you are new to the channel, I hope you'll come back. Please hit that subscribe button for my regulars. You guys are awesome because you make it possible for me to do this. Until the next one.
Click and subscribe right there.
Until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
Peace.
So, real quick,
Yeah.
this.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network